All right, welcome to low to no cost RPG self-publishing. Um, as I was mentioning, all participants are muted. Please ask a question in chat if you would like to. Also, the session will be recorded, and I will make it available later. Also, just to let you know, I'm going to try to get through the content of the presentation rather quickly, so I can have maybe 20 minutes or a half hour or so to answer questions, because usually a topic like this, everybody wants to ask questions, and I want to get to as many questions as I can, because some of the information I feel is pretty self-explanatory, and you just kind of need to know where to go and stuff like that. So, and sometimes you just need a direction. Um, Oh, wow. Okay. So, yeah, more people in chat. We got greetings from St. Louis, Missouri. Well, I am in St. Louis as well. So awesome. So let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I run the website dicegeeks.com. I have created more than 30 RPG resource books. I have more than 80 products on drive-through RPG. And just to let you all know, I do this full time. This is my full-time job, making RPG resources. So you can get started at low to no cost self-publishing. Now it may be unlikely that maybe not everybody can go full-time with it, but I have been able to go full-time doing this, which is amazing. I could have barely dreamed that would have happened when I started doing this, when my journey started back a ways, which I'm going to get into a little bit here. So that is me. So I do this full time. So hopefully I know what I'm talking about. If I don't, please let me know. And then I'll try to get better, because I'm still learning a lot, but I am trying to figure a lot of this out. So first, I know we're going to start off with something. Sometimes, some people think it sounds a little cheap or whatever, but I'm going to start off with, you're here for a reason, right? You're here at a low to no cost RPG self-publishing seminar for a reason. If you are going to do this, if you're going to self-publish role-playing games or your own novels, or, anything like that, if you're going to self-publish RPG resources, I want to tell you, you have to know why you are doing this, right? You have to know why you want to do this, because it is going to take learning lots and lots of different skills for you to try to pull something like this off. Okay. So your why better be right there. It better be really strong. Okay. And for me, I've been playing role-playing games since I was 9. I love role-playing games. I always, tinkered designing role-playing games kind of all down through the years. 2014, a friend of mine passed away, and he was one of the playtesters on a game that I had made when I was in my early 20s, and I was seeing friends at his funeral that I hadn't seen in a long time. And so we got talking about it, and I was like, you know what? I could publish that game. It was called Anarchy. I was like, I could publish that game, and I could write Shane's name in there. I could write his name in there and say, to Shane, thank you for the great adventures. So I started gathering that up, and it took me a long time to figure out how to self-publish something, because I realized I didn't know how to really put together a book at all in the first place, right? So I had not done this professionally, right? I was doing something else as my day job. And so it took me a long time to figure this out, right? Took me a long time. Well, why was I doing it? Well, I love role-playing games. I wanted to honor my friend. Those were pretty strong whys. So I stuck with it, and I tried to figure it out. And I've, made a ton of mistakes, got it published. The book was ridiculous. I didn't know where to get images for the book. I didn't know where to get fonts. I didn't know it was a black cover, right? It was like a black cover with red writing on it. It looked terrible because I didn't know where to get, I didn't know where to, how to get images or anything. I barely just got the book done. And I published it, put Shane's name in it. And that was why, right? Like why I wanted to do that. Well, I sold a couple copies, right? Like it sold a couple copies. And so I was like, well, this is interesting. I was also working a job that, my heart wasn't in. And I was like, maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do something with this. Maybe I could just make a little extra money. And so I started looking into it more, but it took me a long time. So that was 2014 when I started. It was 2015, the end of 2015 when I got the book out. And so 2016 was when I really started looking at some of this stuff and trying to think, could I do this? Could this be something I could at least do on the side? You also need to think about what are your goals and what do you want to accomplish? And like I said, I know this, some people think, oh, get me right into the, how to make money, how to get, where do I get resources, where do I get images, all this stuff. We're going to talk about some of that and we can ask questions, but these things are very important. Okay. Because like if you don't have a reason why to do any of this, you're going to stop doing it. Right. And that's okay. Right. Like that's okay. Not everybody has to publish a book or whatever. So that's okay. If it's just an idea that you're considering, hey, consider ideas. That's awesome. Try out something, see if you like it, see if you don't. But, you got to have a strong why. And then also, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? Right. At first, I had a very narrow goal. Right. I wanted to publish a book that, I had made most of the game years ago. Although when I looked at it, it was all, it was just all a mess and nobody would have ever understood it. So I had to rework like the whole thing and to publish it. Right. So my goal at that time was I want to honor my friend. I want to do something that I've always wanted to do. I had always wanted to publish a role-playing game ever since I was 9, right? Since I first discovered D&D, I thought, oh, maybe I could design my own game or, or create my own campaign or something. So my goal was basically just publish the book, put Shane's name in it and send it out into the world. And I thought, oh, well, if I sold 1 or 2 or 5 copies, there'll be at least a few people in the world who know that I was honoring a friend of mine. So what do I want to, what are my, what are your goals? What are you want to accomplish, right? It's like, maybe you have a very narrow focus. Maybe you just have this one idea. Maybe you just have this one role-playing game, this one campaign, this one idea, and you're just like, I've got to publish this. My family is like, you've got to stop talking about this, publish it, right? Like, or something. Maybe you just have one idea. Maybe you want to do something else, and also, right, like, but if you don't have a goal and you don't know what you want to accomplish, you're going to get discouraged really quickly. So if you don't have a good, strong why, you're going to get discouraged really quickly. And if you don't know what your goal is or what you want to accomplish, then what do you do? Like, if your goal would be to go full time, like, are you doing actual things that will make that goal happen? Or are you not? Right? Like, you have to know what you want to accomplish, right? And of course, goals can change over time, right? So here's the prophet of my generation, Eminem, right? He says, I was playing in the beginning, but the mood all changed, right? So when I put out the game, I sold a few copies. I was like, oh, maybe could I make $100 a month doing this? So I put out a couple other little products. I uploaded them to Drive-Thru RPG and they sold a little bit. And then that's kind of when I got the idea, wait a minute, maybe I could do something with this. Maybe this could really be something. So the mood changed, right? And I had to prepare myself for what was coming. I started changing goals. I started setting new goals, right? And, this was not an easy journey, right? I basically started working 2 full-time jobs, with a family, with, young kids, my day job, and a job at night on the weekends publishing role-playing games, that some months I was making $5 a month, and I was putting in sometimes 20 and 30 and 40 hours a week in addition to my day job, um, because I had a strong why. I set some goals. I knew what I wanted to accomplish, and I was like, okay, maybe this is what it takes. Now, hey, maybe you can do things differently. Maybe you can move quicker than I did, um, whatever. But at the beginning, if you're just testing the waters, don't worry about any of this stuff. Okay. Just test the waters. Like, if you've always thought about publishing something, try to publish it. You know, set a goal that's small, set a low goal. Say, I'm just going to publish my campaign. I'm going to publish this one role-playing game idea I have, or I think this resource would help people play D&D. I want to publish that. Okay, publish that and just see what happens, right? See, the goal, like I said, my goal was to get a book so I could write my friend's name in the cover, right? That's a low goal, right? I had no sales goals, no sales goals, no nothing, right? So I just set very low goal, but once my goals changed, once I realized, right, I had to stop playing and I had to show up. I had to treat it like a business, which it is. It's a business. All right, here are some other quick tips here real fast. Don't get overwhelmed, right? Like, it's easy, for me to start saying some of this stuff and for you to get overwhelmed. It's easy to start thinking about, like, say, like a 400-page RPG book that's filled with art and just go, oh my gosh, I can't do that. Don't get overwhelmed. Don't overwhelm yourself. Take small pieces. Work at things in small bits, right? Take those things, work at them in small pieces. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed, okay? Because we want to make a clear-eyed decision, right? And this is the key right here. There's a difference between, stopping or giving up on something because you really don't want to do it. And then there's a difference of giving up or quitting on a thing because you just got overwhelmed and you didn't know what you were doing and you didn't think you could handle it. Those are two different things, okay? Right? If you start publishing a book and you release it and stuff and you're like, you know what, actually, this is not me, totally fine. Do something else, right? But if you just get in here and go, man, I have always thought about publishing a book since I was a kid. I've always thought about publishing a book. And you just get overwhelmed and then you just kind of like, oh, I just can't do this. Well, that's not good, right? Because we want to make a clear decision, right? We want to have a clear and, a clear decision about, yeah, I don't want to do this, so I'm going to stop. Or no, I think I do want to do this. I just didn't. But we don't want to leave that in that limbo area of where, oh, I don't know if I tried hard enough. I don't know if I did. We want to actually just say, hey, look, I gave it a shot. Actually, I realized this is not for me. I'm not going to do it. Or, maybe you do. Maybe you figure it out and say, hey, actually, this is something I like, right? We want to make the choice clear. We don't want to be stuck in an area where we can kind of, get in our own head and say, man, if I tried harder, maybe I would have published that book. No, just set some goals that you can attain with your schedule and your family responsibilities as they are now. Set some goals that are attainable. See if you want to do it, see if you can get in there. If you can do it, then, great. If you can't, or you realize, hey, what, I just don't like doing this, then don't do it, right? Do something else. But just don't overwhelm yourself. And then you'll just make a decision out of desperation. You don't want to do that. Do the best you can do. Okay, this is a big one that I see a lot of people talk about. I hear a lot of people say, okay, well, I want to make a book. And if I make a book, I'm going to make this role-playing game book. I'm going to make it look like something like Wizards of the Coast put out. It's got to be great. It's got to be fantastic. That's actually possibly insane, right? Wizards of the Coast spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on a book. All right. They spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a book, right? Sometimes dozens, if not hundreds of people will work on a book. Okay. You can't do that. I can't do that. Our book is not going to be their quality. Okay. It's just not. I'm not saying our stuff has to be shoddy and bad, although some stuff I published I consider shoddy and bad. But what was I doing? I was doing the best I could at that time. And I was learning because I had never published a book before, right? Like I had worked some other job. I didn't do this. I did other things, right? I could have, I could have helped you. I worked in search engine optimization. I could have helped you write a blog post. I could have helped you, with some things, maybe on your website, but like I didn't know how to publish a book like this, right? I was learning. So we're going to do the best we can do. And if somebody doesn't like it, which they don't, I have tons of negative reviews. And on some of my early products, especially, right? And they're like, it doesn't look like the person knew how to lay out a PDF. And I'm like, I didn't. I didn't know how to do it. I was up until 1 a.m. holding a screaming baby, trying to format a PDF for the first time. And then I had to be at work at, 8 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. Right? Like I didn't know what I was doing, but I was trying to do the best I could. Okay. I was trying to do the best I could. So we're going to do the best we can do. And if people don't like it, all we can say is, hey, look, I'm going to get better. I'm learning. I'm going to get better. But I'm not going to be able to put out a book that looks like Wizards of the Coast when, 100 people worked on it and they spent $300,000 on it. I can't do that. All right. But I'm going to do the best I can do. And each one is going to be better. If you didn't like this one, if you thought that one was a little bit weak in some areas or lacking in here, okay, the next one, I'm going to make it better. So, and I'm going to do the best I can do. Okay, this one here, this last point on the slide here, do everything yourself. This is the low to no cost part, right? There are other people, I'm sure there are probably other seminars, I haven't checked, but there are probably other seminars going on telling you how to get artists, get writers, how to run a Kickstarter, how to put together things like that. Those are all great. I don't do any of that because they all cost money, right? So this is the low to no cost seminar, right? So we have to do everything ourselves, okay? This is how you keep costs low. Now, it does, right? Cost time. It does take time, right? So it will cost you some time, but learning how to put a book together, learning how to write, learning how to, lay out a PDF, learning how to create, learning how layout works, learning how to create the PDFs, learning how to do that, learning how to get your book accepted at a printer. Those things can be awesome, right? Learning those skills are very valuable, right? Now I may not be an expert graphic designer, but I can do quite a bit. I may not be, Shakespeare, but I can write way better than I could when I started, right? Because I'm putting in practice. I'm doing the things that I'm learning. My PDFs at the beginning, kind of clunky, kind of goofy looking. My PDFs are a lot better. They're better formatted. I've learned how to bookmark them. I've learned how to do things that like I wasn't thinking about at the beginning, right? Because I was overwhelmed. I had so many things to do, right? So we're going to do a lot of this stuff ourselves. That's how we're going to keep our costs down, right? If you want to work with people, that's great. There are ways that you can do that. I don't really do that. Like I said, I'm always focused on keeping my costs as low as I can. Because once you get into, you're talking about some RPG products are very low level products, right? They'll sell, 50 copies or 100 copies. you might be selling them only for a few dollars if you're doing a small PDF. Well, if you have to split, a profit margin of 50 cents with another person, you're not going to make a lot of money selling 50 copies, right? So that's one thing that I've had to consider. And when I was able to go full time, it's just like I have to keep my collaborators low to non-existent, other than maybe some proofreaders or things like that, because I can't share revenue like that. I can't share the royalty because um, there isn't a lot of margin, number one, on a product, and sometimes there's not a lot of sales based on that product. So that's where I've just kind of taken the philosophy, I'm going to do it myself. Would it be better if I hired a graphic designer? Sure. Yeah. If I hired a pro graphic designer, it'd be great. The graphic designer would get paid. I would probably not make money for a year or more on a book if I did that, right? Like, this is the way some of the economics here works, unless you have some massive, huge hit. And I don't know what that looks like exactly yet. So maybe when I get a big hit, I'll let you know. But right now we're going to do it. We're going to do it all ourselves, or as much as we can by ourselves. All right, here's what I recommend to people. Okay, this is, if you have experience, working in publishing and stuff like this, well, then, some of this may not apply to you. But since I did not have experience working in publishing, this is some things that I realized that, as I was going along, that I was trying to post in a lot of places. I was trying to release a lot of different products. And it was not it was not helping me, right? I had bitten off a lot of, more than I could chew in a lot of cases. So here's my advice from somebody who has done it. I would start small, like small, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-page PDFs of some kind of resources or something like that, that somebody could find useful or use in their games, or short adventure or something like that. Start small. Drive Through RPG or the DM's Guild. So obviously you can make an account to publish on Drive Through RPG or the DM's Guild. You can do that for free, right? You can do that for free. You can just sign up for them. It's all free. But here's what I would do. I would pick one. I wouldn't try to focus on both in the beginning. Drive Through RPG, if you want to do kind of your own thing. If you want to do your own, like, campaign setting for Dungeons and Dragons, you're gonna have to publish that on Drive Through RPG. If you are if you want to dive into, say, the IP, the intellectual property of Dungeons and Dragons, say Waterdeep backwards and forwards, Baldur's Gate, the Forgotten Realms backwards and forwards, well, publish on the DM's Guild then, right? And they have a lot of resources there that you can use to publish on the DM's Guild. But I would pick one at first, right? This is all at first, right? Start small at first. Don't try the 450-page role-playing game out of the gate unless you know what you're doing and you have some skills. Okay, start small. Well, even if you do have that one in your back pocket or you're working on it, you can always publish something small first just to get a taste of what you're doing, right? You can get a feel for what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. You're going to learn so much by just publishing one thing. Okay. Digital products only, right? Print complicates things big time. But you can start with just digital products, just making a PDF, just uploading a PDF to Drive Through or to the DM's Guild. You can just make a PDF. That is super simple, right? That'll get you in the process, but you still need to do what? You still need to lay it out. You still need to make it look nice. You still need to write it well. You still need to organize it well. Those are all things that need to be done, right? And so you can learn that just by doing a digital product, just by focusing on PDFs. Print can come later down the road, and I'll talk about that here in just a second. Here are some free programs that you can use. You're like, oh man, I can't afford Adobe and all that. Well, you can use GIMP. That is an image editing software. It is free. You can use GIMP. Just download it, shareware, so it's like Photoshop, but it's just the free version of that. Little harder to use, right? A little harder to use than Photoshop, but if you got a strong why, dive into GIMP, right? Dive in, figure it out. There are tutorials on YouTube. Scribus is another program. This is for layout, doing layout. You can use that to lay out your PDFs. Problem is that Scribus does not work. I don't know what the deal is, since it's a free program, I'm sure. It doesn't work for doing print products very well. So, and DriveThruRPG has stopped support for Scribus, even though I was trying to tell them it wouldn't work on Scribus in like 2017. But they finally just did that. They just finally did that a little while back. So you can use Scribus. It does, now it's not going to help you with print books, but there are some other software I'm sure people are mentioning in chat. I'll check chat here in a little bit. I'm going to try to get through some more of the stuff. Obviously, Google Docs is free, right? You're like, oh, I need a big, some kind of, software package or something like that. Just use Google Docs. You can lay it all out in there. You can also use Word. The only problem with Google Docs and Word is when you get long, right? If you go over 50 pages sometimes, and you're trying to like insert images and stuff, sometimes Google Docs and Word will freak out on you because they're not really made for that, right? They want you to buy a layout program or whatever. But those are just some free options. So you can do this for free. Okay. You can absolutely do some of this stuff for free. I'll check chat here in a minute. I see some messages coming up. All right. Stock art. Stock art is wonderful. Stock art is amazing. Stock art is awesome. So if you need art for a book, right? Like I don't draw, I don't create images, and all of that. So I need stock art. So you can find stock art on iStock, Shutterstock. Adobe has a huge one. Also DriveThruRPG has some great stock art from amazing artists who've worked in the RPG space, and they have kindly uploaded their pictures. You can get like black and white filler images for the inside of your book, sometimes as cheap as $1, sometimes 50 cents, but $1, a little over $1. You can get these nice, great images, and then full color covers, sometimes only $20 will get you a beautiful cover, right? Will get you a very beautiful cover for your book. Now, I know some people are like, yeah, but it's not original art. Remember what I said about Wizards of the Coast. They will pay tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for art. If you have that kind of money, hey, spend it on whatever you want to spend it on. But I don't. So I'm going to use stock art. Stock art is great. I think it is awesome. Unsplash.com is where you can get free photographs and images. All these dice images you have been seeing in the presentation come from Unsplash. They're just free. You can download them. You can, just download them and use them, put effects on them. Sometimes I will download them and put like just a Photoshop effect on them to make it look like they're an animated image or a drawn image or something like that. It looks really good. Pexels is the same kind of idea. Pexels also has stock footage, so if you want to put together a video for your role-playing game or like a trailer or something, you can do that with Pexels, all free, copyright cleared, all that stuff. So you can look between those sites and find that. Public domain images. This is one where it takes time because you have to sort through things. But if you're doing a period piece, so I released a book of random tables called Random Tables Wild West. Frederick Remington did all the artwork for my book, right? Frederick Remington's amazing and beautiful paintings are all in the public domain, and I use them in my book, and my book looks fantastic. And just in the art section, right, it's art by Frederick Remington, right? Frederick Remington did the art for my book. It's amazing. I did a book of random tables steampunk. Same thing. I found a French artist who wrote a book and illustrated a book about the future, what he thought the future would look like in the 1880s. So he was writing in the 1880s and he was doing what the future looked like. I'll tell you what, it looks like steampunk personified, and it was all free. And I was able just to take it, put it in my book. It looks beautiful. One of the most beautiful books I have, because a phenomenal artist did it, but they're all in the public domain. And of course, there's tons of maps. There's tons of other things that are all free in the public domain that we can use. So please, don't turn up your nose at stock art or public domain images. You know, they are there, they are a resource, and they can really spur us on to some really nice creativity. Print on demand. Print on demand is amazing. So once you get to a certain stage where you can do some print on demand, if you want to upload to Amazon or you want to use DriveThruRPGs, print on demand services, print on demand makes publishing a book accessible to like almost every single person, right? Because if you want to get an offset print run, what do you need? You need several $1,000s or $10,000 to buy a whole bunch of books that you have to put in a warehouse that you have to charge storage space on each month, or you have to stick them in your basement and then try to figure out how to sell and how to fulfill those orders. Setting up your book on DriveThruRPG through their system or on Amazon. I'm sure there's some others. I use those mainly. Setting them up on there and having people buy them from there, and they just print a book and send it to them, is revolutionary. It is revolutionary. Some people look down on print on demand. I have no idea why. Like just some people look down on stock art. I have no idea why. It's amazing. The print on demand is awesome. Copyright and trademark, you're probably going to hear these words quite a bit. So anything you write and publish is just automatically copyrighted. Now, hey, this is the section I guess I should give the disclaimer, right? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a copyright lawyer. I have talked to a lawyer about copyright and trademarks. I don't understand a lot of it, but I'll tell you this is my understanding. If you publish it, you can display the symbol, copyright symbol. You could put a TM saying you want to trademark something. So the difference between them is copyright is the expression of words. So that's just writing paragraphs and words on the page. Trademark is some kind of term that is not normally used. One of my terms is realms of understreet. That's the one I put a TM on saying that's my trademark. I want to trademark that. Copyright is what I put on my book as I write it, because I'm saying, hey, this is copyright. Now, what's interesting about these things here is that once you write something and publish it, you can display the symbol on it, and it is copyrighted by you. And you would have recourse if you wanted to take it against somebody. However, if you don't officially register the copyright or the trademark, legal expenses would be on you. If you register the trademark, your legal expenses, or you register the copyright, legal expenses would be paid for if you tried to bring a suit against somebody. But you know, but let me get real here. That's, you know, my books have been stolen. I technically have legal recourse, but it makes no sense for me to try to go after somebody, because what we were talking about is probably some click farm in Russia or China, right? And it's going to be hard to enforce any law settlement on some people like that. Okay, so my PDFs have been stolen. All the PDFs I think on DriveThruRPG have been stolen and been put on somebody else's, on some other websites and stuff like this. You're stealing, you're taking money out of my kid's mouth, taking food out of their mouth. But what are you going to do about it? I don't know how we could really, really actually bring a lawsuit like this, unless your product goes really big, like nationwide big, right? Then you could probably have some legal resource if somebody stole it or something like that. Sole proprietorship, LLC. This is all the legal stuff. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Take this only as entertainment or very loose informational advice. If you're in the United States and you want to sell something, you are automatically a sole proprietorship, right? You don't have to form a business or anything like that. You are automatically a sole proprietorship. If you want some kind of protections, like if you don't want to have your personal assets sued, but you want to create a separate business entity, then you would make an LLC, usually a single person LLC, to do it by yourself. Usually in whatever state, I'm assuming United States. I have no idea what it would be like in Sweden or Norway or Spain. So I have no idea internationally, but this is the United States. You want to form an LLC, usually what's called a single person LLC, and that'll protect you in case you get sued. But, right now I'm still a sole proprietorship because my business doesn't have liability, right? A lot of liability. If somebody wants an $8, if they're upset with an $8 PDF, I'll just give them their money back. And and if you're really upset, I can help you out or whatever. But if you were doing some other business that really had some, liability issues, if you were doing anything with, say, a fruit, like a food product, got to form an LLC, right? Because you could get sued because somebody could get sick. But doing RPGs, just stay a sole proprietorship. Don't even think about an LLC unless you're making some thousands of dollars per month. Okay. Don't even worry about it. Just stay a sole proprietorship, do business under your name, or you could even do a doing business as. Usually they're like less than $10 with, I think in Missouri it's $7. You can get a doing business as, so you could set up a bank account or something, but like under a different name. But just stay a sole proprietorship unless you're making thousands of dollars a month, and then you can think about an LLC. Or if you're worried you're going to get sued for something, but I don't know what you could get sued for. Maybe if you're doing a lot of Kickstarters, maybe you could get sued. I don't know. All right, taxes. I've added this section again. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tax preparer. This is not official advice. It's just for some informational, just informational stuff to get you thinking about these questions. I added this because I gave this presentation one other time, and it's like every question was like, oh my gosh, how do I pay taxes? How do I pay taxes? If it comes to February 1st of the year and you have made so much money publishing role-playing games that your worry is, how do I pay taxes on this? You're in a good spot. All right. You're in a really good place. All right. So taxes, if you have a full-time job, a day job, it's super simple. You just report your extra income as a 1099 miscellaneous, and easy peasy, right? It's just done. You just do it. You just file it, add that in, calculate it, subtract it, done. If you're full-time like I am now, I have to make estimated tax payments quarterly. Guess what? The IRS makes it easy for you to give them money. So I just go to their website and make my estimated tax payment, no problem. I can pay it really fast. It takes like less than 5 minutes. Just boom, and I make my estimated tax payments based on what I made last year, right? So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. One of the things, though, that could cause you problems is if you muddle everything, right? If everything is all just muddled. So If you want to, if you want to make sure you're above board, you keep everything separate. So you're going to keep your business separate from, a lot of your personal stuff. Okay. Now you can pay yourself anytime you want. Like it's, if you're sole proprietorship or a single person LLC, it's not a big deal. You can just pay yourself, but just to keep it, separate, this will help you do a number of things. This will help you to know how much money you're making. This will help you know what your business expenses are. And this will also help you when you make taxes, when you file taxes, because if you spend money on your business, if you spend money on your business or you advertise, you can deduct those. Okay. So you could deduct those. So that would be good. That would be the most complex thing that I even know how to do on my taxes. I know that if I spend stuff on my business or I advertise, I can deduct those, and I go in and I can do that. And it's really easy. So you can get a business bank account, a business credit card, keep everything separate, keep all your, your money separate. But let me give you a cautionary tale here. Do not go in debt for this. Okay. Don't take any debt for this. I never went in debt for this. I spent about $500 until the business started making about $50 a month. And then I would just use that $50 to pay for things, even if I had to save it up. So don't go into debt, and don't have some bank account or credit card out there, even with a couple $100 on it. That is, this is pop psychology, Matt here, but that's a relationship killer, right? If you have a spouse or loved ones and you have, and you're dealing with finances and they don't know what you're doing, or they don't really understand how to run a business or understand role-playing games, right? And you're like, oh, I have $500 or $800 on this other credit card over here. That can really kill a relationship, right? It can just really hamper what you're trying to do, and it can just, so don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. That's all I'm saying. Whatever, if you have a little extra money, if you have some surplus from your day job and that, hey, and you can spend some money on your hobby. Sure. Spend some money on hobbies, spend some money on your hobby, spend some money starting a business, but don't go into debt. Don't do it. Don't go into debt for this. Okay. That's just my word of advice there. All right. So questions. We have more than 15 minutes. We have about 18 minutes. I'm going to look back through chat. I know some people I was trying not to look because I wanted to get through some stuff that I wanted to say, but I'll try to go back. Okay. So Bill asked roughly how many RPGs a year to be a full-time gig? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that, but I'll tell you, before I was able to go to full-time, let me think back. I think I had about 10 to 12 really good selling books that sold just each month. So I had about 10 of those to sell that were selling really well. If I'm remembering right. Okay, so Elise says, large projects. Okay, so you can have a team and you can use the DM's Guild and Drive-Thru-RPG to do a royalty split. So that is absolutely true. So DM's Guild and Drive-Thru-RPG make it really easy to where if you launch a product and you need a graphic designer or you need an artist or you need a writer, you can say, hey, Greg, you're a graphic designer. I will pay you 10% of this royalties, for this product if you lay out the book. Sarah, you are a writer. I need you to go in and edit and kind of, and beef up my prose here. I will give you 10% of the royalties. You can do that really easy in Drive-Thru RPG and the DM's Guild. My one caveat with that, right? My one caveat with that is that if you want to go full time with this, you have to be careful about giving away revenue, because if your book only sells 50 or 100 copies, or your resource only sells a few copies, and you're giving away 10% to your graphic designer, 10% to a writer, 10% to a cover artist, 10% to, your, I don't know, your business manager or whatever you're doing, like you've just handed off a lot of your royalties to where you're making just a little bit of money. Somebody mentioned DM's Guild has style guide and free stock art. That's right. If you're on the DM's Guild, you can use D&D art all legally, as long as you're following the DM's Guild rules, everything's great. And there's also, the same person mentioned Dean Spencer, artist on Drive-Thru RPG. I have used Dean Spencer all through my books, all through my books. And 10, 20 bucks, 15 bucks for color covers, $5, or less, sometimes $2, $1 for black and white filler images. Okay, so Jason said, what are your feelings about publishing on itch.io? I have only put one book on itch.io, so I don't know. If it works for you, you understand itch. If you know itch and you understand itch, then I would probably say publish on there. I have only published one on there. Okay, let's see. Okay, so these are some recommendations for layout softwares. Yes, there's a lot of layout softwares available out there. Infinity, Novel, Easy, Paint.net. So some other ones, so you can look there in the comments for that. There's a map thing. Somebody says they love print on demand. I do too. GM Binder for layout. I've never heard of that one. I'll have to check that one out. So that's just a resource. Let me try to get down here. Okay, so, oh yeah, vote of confidence on the finances being the #1 relationship killer. Absolutely. Don't get into trouble with finances, please. Please, for the sake of your sanity and your well-being as a human being, please do not do that. Okay, Chuck asked, can you talk a little about advertising? Okay, so in certain contexts, advertising can be tricky. Right, so if we're getting into paid ads, right, this is where low to no cost RPG publishing can all of a sudden boom into a lot of money RPG publishing, right? If you're talking about paid ads. I wouldn't recommend doing a lot of paid stuff until you're making some money, okay? Or if your day job and it provides you with some good money and you have a surplus and you're able to set aside some money for starting a business, then maybe you can try that. So paid ads is really difficult. I use paid ads now on Amazon. I was in a position to start using that in 2018 when they introduced the paid ads on Amazon, and they have worked really well for me. To be frank, I spend about $1,000 a month on advertising on Amazon, and it gets me a great return on my books. Would I be able to spend that? Right. This is how advertising works. Some people don't understand how advertising works. I wouldn't be able to do it unless I made more money than $1,000. Right. So, I was able to get in on the ground floor and be able to start spending like $50 and, and really just dig in there and learn how to use the system. So I advertise a lot of paid on Amazon. Here is the thing for low to no publishing, though. Drive-Thru RPG. Drive-Thru RPG has a few things that will help you out. They have what's called PPP. Those are points that you earn by getting downloads in Drive-Thru RPG. As those points accrue in your publisher account, they're free, right? You just get them for how many downloads and things that you get on products. You are able to save those up, and you can use those products, or you can use those points and spend them to promote your products within their categories or on the homepage. You can also use those points to put in big, huge banners for your product. So you can do that. That's all free. So that's low, no cost. You just need to get downloads on your Drive-Thru RPG account. Okay. Advertising there, obviously we're in the age of social media and PR. You want to, for advertising, advertising is usually paid, right? PR is when it's free. That's usually how it's distinguished in the business world. You want PR, right? Especially if you're low to no cost publishing, you want blogs to talk about your books. You want YouTubers to talk about your books, or your products or your resources or whatever you're selling, right? You want them to talk about it. So how can you do that? You could send them free things. It costs you a little bit, but not as much as running paid ads, right? You could send them something free. You can hope they pick it up. You can get it in front of them. You could send them an email, send them a comment, something like that. Don't be spammy though. Don't be in people's face. Don't require things from somebody that you email out of the blue, right? Like, don't do that. Send them a book. Say, hey, if you gave it a look, awesome. If not, no worries. Glad you're in the community. Glad you're making YouTube videos or whatever and stuff like that. So I've done that, trying to get people to look at my stuff. A lot of times that doesn't work, but hey, a lot of times people will just talk about my books organically. One YouTuber started talking about my books quite a bit. That is Me, Myself, and Die, Trevor over there at that YouTube channel. I had never talked to Trevor until like a month or so ago, but he just started using my books until finally I was just like, I got to email this guy and say thank you so much and see, just this is awesome. Can we help each other out here? All right, so that's advertising. We still have like 9 minutes or so. We got a lot of questions here. I'm going to try to get through them all. Please keep them coming. All right, so Aaron asked, what quantity of sales is considered really good for independent books like this? Okay, yeah, this is really subjective. Okay, it is hard to really quantify, right? I will tell you right now, I've run the math on, if you know Drive-Thru RPG, they have the medals, they have the best-selling medals, like copper and, it's all the coins, right? Platinum, mithril, and all that. They have all those coins, it's silver and gold, the best sellers. I have run numbers on that before, and it is something like less than, or no, it's only more than only 12%. Let me word this right. I'm sorry. I'm doing this from old numbers. I should have put it in the presentation. I should add it back in the presentation. It was something like less than 12% of the products on Drive-Thru RPG sell more than 50 copies. And that is a copper seller. So that is less than 12%. There are hundreds. There's well over 100,000, if not 200,000 products on Drive-Thru RPG. So less than 12% sell more than 50 copies. So what is really good? It is hard to say. Some of my resource books, my random table books, really good, it's a variable scale. Fantasy, I know what looks good now for fantasy. I know how many books per month is like, oh, that fantasy book is doing well. For a book, say like my 60s and 70s book, if I sell 2, 3, 4 copies a month, I'm like, man, my 60s and 70s book is doing great, because I know a lot of people don't play 60s and 70s role-playing games. So if I sell a few copies of that, oh man, that's cool. That's really good. Fantasy, I want to see 30, 40, 50 books, selling per month, right? I want to see at least something like that on Drive-Thru RPG, if not more, right? Let's see. Have any good affordable stock artists you can recommend outside DM's Guild and Drive-Thru RPG? Not exactly. I use iStock, I use Shutterstock, and that. All right, let me skip down here. We got a few more minutes, so I'm going to get some more questions. Okay, Phil ask, how do you get the word out on your products in the beginning? Yeah, this is one of the big things, right? We can, a person alone in their bedroom with a computer can make a book, right? Amazing, but who's going to know it exists? So yeah, how do you get your book out when it's there in the beginning? Well, you're going to have to really start doing some business things, right? You're going to have to start thinking about this as a business. You want to start building an email list where you can talk to people. This might mean starting a blog. It might mean starting a YouTube channel. It might, mean, putting in your books a link to your email list. You want to start an email list so you can email some people when you publish something. You can send your book to people for free. You can send out a press release to people. Books, once the new books, as books are published on DriveThruRPG, they're shown on the homepage, just down a little bit lower. They're shown there so people will see them. You just have to start getting creative. You have to start really using either your own social media platforms, or somebody else's, right? You have to get in front of them. You have to get in front of those people to get them out there. So in the beginning, there's a lot of hustle. There's a lot of hustle to get either you a social media following or get in front of other people's social media following. How do you get on other people's social media following? How do you get in front of their audience? You got to make something that's awesome, right? Make a grand slam product, right? And then they'll have no reason not to talk about it to their audience. Building your own audience is hard, right? Like, this is just an intro to this to the topic. I'm not talking about easy stuff. This is hard stuff. So that's how you get it out. You got to use social media, build an email list that you can control, and you can email people, and you just got to kind of start figuring it out, how to get it in front of people. Where can I go? What for? Can I post on a forum? Can I do, can I post over here? Can I do that? Can I get EN World to send out a press release on it or something, to make a post on it? All right, I'm going to try to speed up here. Is there a vast benefit to publishing on DM's Guild Accept, where there's a marketplace versus self-driving to your own website for a big royalty cut? Yes, this is a great question. Is this Vanessa? Yeah, Vanessa, this is a great question. There is a huge benefit to publishing on somebody else's marketplace. Even, DriveThruRPG is going to take 30%, DM's Guild takes 50%. There's a huge benefit to doing that because there are people already there. If you can drive people to your own website, if you are good at driving people to your own website, hey, do that. But what I would recommend, get on those marketplaces, build up a following of people who like your products, then start driving them to your own website where you have your products at a higher royalty cut that you can. I have on my website, I have a PayHip page. If somebody buys on my PayHip page, I make way more money, and they're like the same price as they are on DriveThru. It's just because I'm not giving 30% to DriveThru. But at the beginning, I didn't have an audience. So publish on those platforms, get people who recognize your brand, recognize your name, then drive those people to your website. Yeah, somebody else just suggesting to send your books to social media influencers. Somebody is asking $1,000 a month on Amazon based on clicks or views. That is clicks. That is clicks on Amazon that I am paying for on there. And then somebody else says, yeah, you can collect emails using Google Forms. Absolutely. You can do a lot of tricksy stuff, getting a lot of stuff free. All right. I got 10 more messages. We only have a couple minutes. I'm going to kind of keep moving. I appreciate the nuanced response. Thank you. You are welcome. Somebody posted the metal sellers on DriveThruRPG for everybody to look. Exclusive on DriveThru or not? Which would you suggest? Do not go exclusive. Don't go exclusive. I did exclusive at the beginning because I had no idea what I was going to do. You get a little bit more revenue share, but don't do exclusive. You want to then get your PDFs on your own. Like, I wouldn't be able to sell them on my PayHip page if I wasn't. And it was a little process of being unexclusified, that I had to go through. Don't do exclusive. You want to market your books wherever you want to market them. Okay. Unless, I will caveat everything with, unless it meets your goals. If you have a very narrow goal and you're like, I'm only going to publish on DriveThru for the rest of my life, then do that. But I would say don't go exclusive. DM's Guild requires platinum to submit for print on demand. That is true. So if you go through DM's Guild, don't worry about print until you worry about that. Yeah, stock art, Dean Spencer. Yeah, all shout out to Dean Spencer. Great art. His covers are on my books. Any tips if you plan just to offer stuff for free and try not to make money at it? Offering stuff for free is great. It still has to be good. People will give you 1-star reviews on things that are free. I don't understand why, because if it doesn't give my computer a virus, why would I give you a 1-star if you give me a free product? I have no idea why, but they do. So make it good, but free is a great start. That is also a way to start your business. I started giving away tons of stuff for free. That is a way to start a brand awareness. Give away stuff for free, not 400-page rule books or whatever, but you can give away one-sheets, resources, a couple page, adventures. That is a great way to build up an audience. Pay what you want instead of free. That's what somebody said. That is true. Click through on pay what you want is way lower than free because people can't type in 0.00, right? It's like it's too much work. So click-through rate on pay what you want is way lower than free, but it's still a great option. And then people can come back, because what some people will do is they'll download something and they'll come back and say, oh, actually, this was awesome. Here's $2. Great. Editing, okay. I am interested in getting into editing RPG products. I know is this in main area, but any thoughts on that? Where to find interested clients? You can find a lot of clients. There are people, we're dying for editors. I had to post stuff without it being proofread in the beginning, right? It was a nightmare, but that's what I had to do. There are a lot of great places. I would suggest, it doesn't hurt that he's a super nice guy, but he's on YouTube a lot and he writes for the DM's Guild. I would look up Matthew Whitby. I interviewed him on a podcast that I did a few years ago. His name is Matthew Whitby. He's based in the UK. Look him up on YouTube. He does a podcast and a roundup video series where he talks to people who work on the DM's Guild. And they do a lot of collaboration products. They have editors, graphic designers, and they come together and they royalty share. So that would be a place. So look for Matthew Whitby. Just giving a shout out to Matthew. He probably has his PhD in video games by now, which he was working towards. Social media Discord. Yeah, a lot of people have Discords now. You can get into their Discords and spread word on Discord, spread word on Twitter. All that stuff. And actually, yeah, somebody's saying, hey, show me your stuff. I'll give you shout outs. I will do the same. Look me up at dicegeeks.com. If your stuff is cool, and I'm not opposed to giving people shout outs and stuff like that. Somebody answering your question there about resources to find editors. Excellent. Some sub talk here about Twitter and that great stuff going on here. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. We are a couple minutes over. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. We still got 31 people on here, which was great. I hope this was very helpful to you guys. I have got to drop off here and grab a little bite to eat before I do my next presentation. So I really hope this was helpful. I try to be as honest as I can with you guys about this is not easy, but it's fun. And if you want to do it, you can do it, and you don't have to break the bank. You don't have to throw around 10, 20 grand on this stuff. Okay. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was informative. Formidable, that's not a word. Anyway, the recording of this will be available later on my YouTube channel. I will post the link in the questions. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the next presentation, hopefully. All right, thank you.